Okay, today we're going to talk about absolute value inequalities. So let's just say that I told you that the absolute value of x was less than 3. Okay, so let's just kind of list out or think about what numbers have an absolute value of less than 3. Okay, so 2, 1, 0, right? What about negative 1? What's the absolute value of negative 1? 1. Is that less than 3? Yes. What about negative 2? What's the absolute value of negative 2? 2. Is that less than 3? Yes. Right? So what's going to end up happening when you have an absolute value that's less than a number? That means it's going to form a conjunction, okay, between the negative and the positive value. So for example, think about this with me, right? So if I'm saying the absolute value, that means the distance from 0 is less than 3. That means that you can go 3 steps to the right or 3 steps to the left from 0. Okay, that's why it's making this conjunction, right? So we could say negative 3 is less than x, which is less than positive 3. Okay, now what if I told you that the absolute value of x was greater than 3? Well, obviously 4, 5, 6, right? But what if I gave you negative 3? What's the absolute value of like negative 4? 4. That's bigger than 3. What about the absolute value of negative 5? That's 5. That's greater than 3. Because we know absolute value is the distance from 0 on a number line, this is telling me, hey, your distance from 0 has to be greater than 3. So it's going to be to the right, greater than positive 3, or it has to be less than negative 3, because these absolute values are the distance that's greater than 3 away from 0. Okay, so here is kind of like the formula for it, right? When we have something that's less than c, an absolute value of x that's less than c, that means that x is greater than negative c and less than positive c. That's what we did over here. It was a conjunction. It's connected. When you have an absolute value that's greater than c, right, that's telling you, hey, you have to be more than 3 away from 0. Well, that means that you have to be greater than 3 or less than negative 3. And that's going to be a disjunction. It has that or word. So let's do a couple of examples. So on this first one, okay, it's greater than. So x minus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 7, or x minus 5 has to be less than or equal to negative 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve these. We're going to add 5 to both sides to get x is greater than or equal to 12. And over here, I'm going to go ahead and add 5 to get x is less than or equal to negative 2. So I'm going to do, let's see, negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So if I was going to graph it, my x would have to be anything greater than or equal to 12 or anything less than or equal to negative 2. So let's just pick a number, right? If I picked 15, 15 minus 5 is 10. The absolute value of 10 is greater than 7. Let's say I picked something less than negative 2, like negative 3. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. The absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8, which is greater than 7. Okay, let's find another greater one right here. Okay, so x plus 3 is greater than 8, or x plus 3 has to be less than negative 8. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides to get x is greater than 5, or subtract 3 from both sides to get x is less than negative 11. So I'm just going to do, let's see, negative 12, negative 10, negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6. So x has to be something that's greater than 5 or less than negative 11. So let's say I picked something, let's check it, less than negative 11. So this is saying like negative 12. Negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9. the absolute value of negative 9 is 9, which is bigger than 8, right? Let's say I picked negative 100. That would be negative 97. The absolute value of negative 97 is 97, which is greater than 8. Okay, let's say I picked anything that's greater than 5, like 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. The absolute value of 9 is bigger than 8. Okay, so essentially all of this stuff here in the middle is off limits because when you add it together, it's going to give you an absolute value that is not bigger than 8. Okay, let's see if I can find another greater than. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, so let's talk about the less than ones. So what it's telling us is that this absolute value, x minus 2, has to be less than or equal to 7, which means it could be greater than or equal to negative 7, right? If I said the absolute value, your distance from 0 is less than 7, you could go 7 to the right or 7 to the left of 0. So if I add 2 to everything, I get negative 5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 9. I didn't give myself enough space. So let me just do negative 6, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I need to have a closed-in circle on negative 5, and then a closed-in circle on 9, and then I'm going to connect them. So I could use any of these numbers, and it's going to give me an absolute value that's less than or equal to 7. Let's say I picked 0. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2, which is less than 7. Let's say I picked 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6, which is less than or equal to 7. Let's say I picked negative 5. Negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. The absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7, which is less than or equal to 7. Okay, let's look at this next one right here. So 2x minus 1 is less than 11, greater than negative 11. We're going to make it a conjunction. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides first to get negative 10 is less than 2x is less than 12. And then I'm going to divide by 2. I'm just going to write it over here. To get negative 5 is less than x, which is less than 6. So negative 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's saying x has to be anything greater than 5 and less than 6. So I'm going to connect them, and that would be my answer. And you could pick any point along here, and it would make it true. Okay, let's look at this bottom left one. The first thing that I want to do is solve it for the absolute value, just like when we did absolute value equations. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I have the absolute value of negative 4x minus 5 would be less than 6. Sorry. So now that means I did not give myself enough space here. So negative 4x minus 5 is less than 6 or greater than negative 6. Because it's the absolute value is less than, it's going to be this conjunction. So now I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So 5 is less than negative 4x, which is less than 11. And now what am I going to have to do? What's my last step? Divide by negative 4. Okay, now, we can't forget when you divide by a negative, you have to flip your inequality signs. So I have negative 5 over 4 is greater than x is greater than negative 11 over 4. So let's just think about this for a second, okay? Negative 5 over 4 is like negative 1 1/4. 4 goes into 11 2 times with 3 left over, so that's negative 2 3/4, or negative 2.75. So it's saying that x, I left off my sign, has to be greater than negative 2 3/4 and less than negative 1.25. So I can even go, I'm going to make it real easy, negative 5/4, negative 6/4, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10 over 4, and negative 11 over 4. And it's telling me that my x has to be greater less than negative 5 over 4 and greater than negative 11 over 4. And it would look like that. Okay, and then the very last one, again, we're going to solve it for the absolute value. So 3 times the quantity, 5m minus 6, is less than 21, because I added 8 to both sides. So now I'm going to divide by 3. The absolute value of 5m minus 6 is less than 7. So it's still a less than, so negative 7 is less than 5m minus 6, which is less than positive 7. So the first step is to add 6 to both sides. Negative 1 is less than 5m, which is less than 13. And now we're going to divide by 5. So these are going to cancel. So I end up with negative 1 over 5 is less than m, which is less than 2 and 3 over 5. So I'm just going to do on my graph, let me think. I'm going to say that this is 0, that this is negative 1, positive 2, positive 3. So negative 1/5 all the way up to 2 3/5, and it's connected. Okay, and on your graphs, again, you have the liberty to kind of make them however you want, as long as I can read them and as long as your answer is written clearly, right? Then I'll be able to look at your graph and know that you got it correct.